welcome everybody to OPN. I appreciate you guys coming. Jesse, I'm sorry we couldn't get you in and on, and I don't quite know what the problem is, but these things happen, and so you'll be one of the winners of the guest interview lottery. We'll be in touch with you to do a solo. Also, I want to welcome Chris, who is new to our channel as a participant in an interview, and also Matt, Stop Motion Solo. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. Good to have you. Nate, always great to have you back. Good to see you. And, of course, Pump Boy. So my dream for this was to have a coast-to-coast, multi-city discussion of the May Day actions that you were part of and observed, and just get some feedback, and just have a little bit of everybody to compare notes and say, well, this is what was going on in our city and all that. So I'm grateful all of you can attend. So let's start with just a quick intro from each of you, and what I'm going to do is sort of moderate, because we mostly want to hear you guys speak. So I'll toss questions out, but just think of it as a conversation. If we were all sitting around drinking beers or something and saying, man, this is what I saw, and we'll bounce stuff off each other. And there'll be some questions coming out of the chat stream, and I'll try to read that, and we'll just kind of wing it. So starting on my left, Chris Bandy, you want to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what Occupy you're most connected with, and any contact information you want to give out, and we'll start that way.
Okay. Chris Bandy, Occupy Nashville. Twitter name, Krishna is Love.
And you're a streamer and with ON? So
I am.
You're in connection with Tangelo, who we interviewed last week, was good. And so I have to guess, connecting the dots, maybe Go and Go out of ON?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Jason.
I figured that out by myself. So anybody that's heard me speak about Occupy Nashville knows they were, like, from the very beginning, one of my favorite small occupations. You guys did it so well. So it was just a beautiful thing to watch. Your post-eviction actions were fantastic. And I always thought Occupy Nashville was a good model for how an Occupy could be. Okay, and then next on my right is Pump Boy from San Francisco.
So, yeah, I've covered mainly San Francisco, but I've also covered all the raids in Oakland, Berkeley, Cal. I've been out to the farm now once, not as much as I'd have liked to, but it's not the easiest spot in the world to get to. I covered the LA raid, I've been to DC, and I plan on being in Chicago. And I've always had an affinity for Nashville because there's sort of a group of gay hippies that have a commune about just outside of Murfreesboro at Short Mountain that I've been to several times. So I've been out to Tennessee. I love Short Mountain. It's probably been about 10 years since I've been out there, but my first boyfriend's from there, and I've always had an affinity for people from Nashville.
Right.
Cool.
Cool. Chris, people are wanting you to turn on a light and not be cloud hidden and whereabouts unknown.
I second that.
I don't have any more light. Oh, hold on. Hold on.
Okay, well, you do that while we introduce Matt, Stop Motion Solo from New York. Welcome, Matt, and thank you for joining us on this. I know you were one that had, like, uber short notice. We're calling and saying, hey, you want to do an interview with us? And oh, by the way, you want to be on Sunday night's panel discussion? So thanks for being a good sport and jumping on.
No problem. Why not? It was a good opportunity, so I figured why not.
Yep.
And I never did anything like this before.
Yep. Well, this is the beginning. We hope to do some more of these in the future, and we're glad you could join us on this inaugural one. And Nate, it's good to see you again. You're in New York right now, but we know you best from DC. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey everybody, I'm a streamer for the Ustream channel Occupy I. That's Occupy EYE, same Twitter handle. And I started with Occupy Wall Street in mid-October and went to DC in mid-January and stayed there for 3 months and came back to New York City just for May 1st. So we rolled in around like 2 a.m. the day of May 1st, got a few hours of sleep, and then went right out to Bryant Park. And tomorrow, leaving for Charlotte, North Carolina for the protests they're having against Bank of America. So
So is that's Wednesday, right?
Right.
Wednesday is the day that they're trying to shut down the shareholders meeting, I think.
Okay, because I'm going to something. Yeah, I'm going to something from Move On out in Alamo. I guess they're having sort of a solidarity with the shareholders meeting thing at a big B of A office in the East Bay, close to me. So I'll be there streaming. I'm going to try to get my mom to come with me to that one.
Excellent. That is
Cool.
outstanding.
You better hold her hand.
That's outstanding. Yeah, so Organizer X is just going to give me all kinds of grief because I'm not making it to Charlotte because I'm traveling the next day, and I'm fairly close, so I have let the team down on that, but I'll make it up during DNC. And Nate and I were just talking. I still have friends and family in Charlotte, so we're going to try to hook up. And anybody that's headed that way, if you give me a heads up, then I'll work on trying to find places for us to sleep and stuff like that. That'll be a big adventure. We'll have a big rally there, and I can tell you, listening to Charlotte local news and the Charlotte papers, they're really gearing up for DNC. So we got to bring our A game with us. It's yesterday they announced that they were going to close the transit terminal because it's near the downtown area, and so they're displacing all the people who would normally take the buses and everything. Just working class people trying to get back and forth to work for the week because they say it's a security threat. So these are the kinds of things we're looking at going forward. So good to have you all. Thank you very much. I want to start out by asking Chris, I'm interested to hear what happened in Occupy Nashville on May Day. And we talked a little bit with Tangelo, who we knew was in Chicago, but he spoke to some things you guys might be doing. So how did you guys spend May Day?
Well, we had a gathering in Centennial Park down we had a couple of teach-ins, and I spent most of the time leaning over my computer trying to get live stream to work.
That's kind of the way it goes. I'm familiar with your pain. Did you guys have good turnouts in the city for May Day?
Yeah, I didn't make it there was a torchlight march at the very end in the evening, and I didn't make it for that. And apparently that turned out to be pretty good, where some people were coming and joining as they watched it. The little rally teach-in thing was pretty nice. We got to talk and have a little lunch, and it was really nice, really hippie, kind of mellow. We had a couple of policemen walk by. Well, they rode by on horseback, and it was really nothing. It was really good though. We learned a lot and everything. We had a union rally later on in the afternoon. That was good. It was pretty decently attended. It's not one of our bigger events since we've been pretty small. We've really shrunk lately, and we're trying to get people to come back out. So, it was not bad for what we've been small, but we really want to get bigger stuff going on.
Right. So I hope the Occupy Nashville people are all watching you tonight, because this is a good way to make connections and share the word. Yeah. So the quite likely, what is the other end of the spectrum there, Punk? If you want to tell us a little bit about what was happening in the Bay Area. I know I was producing streams all day, and at midnight the Bay was heating up again, and I was just wrecked. So I know you guys had a busy day.
Yeah, well, let's go back a little bit. So about a month ago, the Golden Gate Transit Workers Union, there's like a conglomerate of unions that work for the bridge and the ferries and the Golden Gate bus that goes over across north towards Marin County, had asked
Hmm.
us to join in with a bridge blockade as part of their strike for that day. About 3 days beforehand, they pulled out the rug from under us, which left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. So they ended up just doing a ferry strike, and I mean, I guess it was all for the best because there was some people who were still of the mind that they wanted to shut down the bridge. So some people sent out some scouts, and it was heavily fortified. I guess anything that would have happened on the bridge that day, they could have construed as terrorist activity or whatnot. So like, it was heavily fortified, and we just thought it was safer to, without the numbers, like there was no way anybody was getting on that bridge that day.
Mm.
So that left us with a lot of free time in the morning. Some people decided to go and help the pickets at the ferries. Part of the ferry picket included a flotilla of two-person kayaks that went out with little sort of picket signs on the kayaks in the bay. Um, I went to the traditional immigrants' rights march in the Mission, and they had some street theater with some sort of like game of life puppets, including like different portions of like laws that put people in jail and mortgage stuff on different tentacles of the stuff that was coming off of the 1% who was suffocating the planet. So after that street theater, there was also at, I think it was at 11 a.m., the janitors union that cleans the biggest shopping mall downtown at Powell and Market went on strike right at 11 a.m. So a lot of people fortified that. And then a lot of unions met up with us in the Occupy SF main thing, which was sort of a street festival that closed down the main intersection of Montgomery and Market. There was a big 20-foot sort of sandwich sign sort of effigy of a one percenter, which was sort of loosely based on Lloyd Blankfeld's image, you know, with his little puppet politicians and his briefcase and everything. And after dancing around that, and then the intersection of Market and Montgomery ended up getting painted with a huge yellow and red writing starburst with a giant 99 in the middle of it, and then rise up in Spanish on the bottom. And then everybody in the little flames off of the sun had painted in like different forms of oppression and strengths of the movement. And it was cool. It was a lot of little kids helped paint it and everything. And then the Autonomous Direct Action Commune group had basically decided, they said they were reopening the SF Commune at a new place, but it turned out to be the same building, the 888 Turk from a month ago on April 1st that they retook. Some idiot had took it upon himself to toss a brick off of the roof when the cops came in to shut it down, and hit one of the protesters in the nose and broke his nose. Which really pissed me off because it contributed to the narrative of the cops on the last raid that all the bricks on the roof that were there actually to hold down banners were to throw at the cops, and then what does some idiot do but do that and validate their narrative from the last raid. The other thing I want to speak to is the night before, and it took us all by surprise. There was supposed to be a kickoff party in the park the night before at Dolores Park down the street from my house, and this is the second time that something like this has happened, and I'll put it in context after I go through how it happened. We thought it was supposed to be a big kickoff party, you know, with an anti-gentrification theme or whatever. Maybe people speak out on whatever their thoughts on gentrification or something. About 8:45, when the party was supposed to start at 8, some people who none of us really recognized took control and said, hey, we're going to go march. And then through a residential and small business district, had taken their like black poles and everything and left a total path of destruction, leaving almost $1 million in damage to all the small businesses in the neighborhood. A lot of us were taken off guard. None of us really realized that was going to happen. I know there were a few stray occupiers who probably joined in who have sort of that sentiment, but the majority of that was done by these people that we've figured out were probably hired by who knows who. I'm guessing Wells Fargo, because with our shareholder thing the week before, we dealt them a huge PR blow, and they stepped in the next day and donated $25,000 to help clean up the neighborhood. You know, we're all wondering how much they paid for those agents. And when people called me a little crazy and like, oh, but there's anarchists who just want to do that stuff, the timing was all very like suspicious, because it was a week after the shareholders meeting. Wells Fargo stepped in with $25,000 to repair the damage. The last time we had a group that looked exactly similar with these sort of skin-tight black outfits and, perfectly, they were all very clean-cut looking. Like they were very well-paid looking people that were very well off that seemed to perpetrate it. Somebody's there.
Who was that?
That was me.
So the way that I'm guessing that it was probably agents is because the last time...
Tell them to come back with a warrant.
Yeah. That's it. It's the alphabet agencies.
All right. So let me finish up though. So the reason that leads me to believe that it was definitely, I'm 99% certain that it was agents is that the last time we had anything like this happen was November 2nd general strike in Oakland. And when I thought about it and started to put a timeline together in my head of why it would have happened on that day in Oakland, in January, there was, through public records requests that the local Fox affiliate, our Channel 2, who's been doing a halfway decent job covering us most of the time, they filed a public records request with the city to get the emails that went between the city and the police department at that time. And it turns out that at the time during the encampment, they were trying to prove that Occupy Oakland's commune was negatively affecting and causing crime. So they hired a private consulting firm to find out if, to bolster their assertions that we were causing crime and not bringing it, and having a negative effect on crime. That private consulting firm came back and told them that crime had actually dropped 19% in Oakland, which no mayor, no chief of police has ever been able to do in Oakland, to bring down a 19% drop in crime in just a few weeks.
Right.
So there was an email that went to the mayor's office that said, I don't know how you want to spin this good news that, it goes contrary to our assertion that Occupy Oakland has actually been causing crime and not dropping it down. The week after that email went back and forth from the police department to the mayor's office, we had a very similar and very similarly dressed with the same black poles group of people who perpetrated the exact same thing on a lot of small businesses in Oakland on November 2nd. Right. So all of that makes it all seem very plausible that it was the same group of people. And then I find out that on May 1st, a group that looked exactly like the group that was here the day before on April 30th was in Seattle on May 1st doing the exact same thing and leading a group of, tattered clad black bloc type people in destroying a bunch of businesses in Seattle. And then I come to find out that on Monday, April 30th, our mayor was up in Seattle having a secret meeting with their mayor. And then it happens up there the next day. So It's all very fishy, and it sounds very conspiracy theorist, but it seems more likely than not with how the banks. It's also been revealed the week before that the banks have been working with Pinkertons and all sorts of private security firms to come after us on all fronts. That was on Democracy Now! And a bunch of other places and blogs that have very credible sources on it. So it seems like they're going to come after us with guns blaring and do all this sort of smearing to try to go after us now. Yeah. So that's what we've been dealing with here.
Right.
I don't know. I did not make it to Oakland because with the commune thing going on and Oakland turning into another hell on earth sort of scenario, all the streamers left San Francisco, and so I figured I should stay in my own city. But yes, shit hit the fan really bad in Oakland later in the night, and they had over 2,000 police officers trying to rein in what was going on there.
Yeah.
But I can't speak to how all of that went down. But other than a couple of things in the city, ours was pretty peaceful for the most part if you take out the agents on Monday night, the night before. And I've been running damage control and trying to make sure that money gets raised to help repair those businesses. As much as I don't like gentrification, I dislike what happened on Monday even more.
And for those of you who don't follow Punk Boy's Twitter feed yet, you should, because it's a story unfolding, and that is of particular interest to me because I believe, and we all have to suspect this happens. There's always going to be people out there, the more successful we are as a movement, that are going to try to tear it down by any means possible. There's all kinds of historical precedent for that kind of action. Even if it was coincidental, you have to expect that it's not going to continue to be coincidental. You're reasonable to be aware of. So Matt and Nate, both of you guys were in the city for May Day in New York City. Did you cross paths, or do you guys know each other, or were you coming at it from different angles? Because we were watching both streams, and Yeah, well, both streams I say. We were watching
I'll
probably
be right
50
back.
streams. Okay, thanks. So, Matt, you want to go first and tell us a little bit about where you were and what you were doing and kind of what the vibe was? And
Okay. First I was went to Bryant Park. I wanted to get there at 8, but my alarm ended up going off late, so I got there at 9 instead. But either way, I ended up catching a picket at HSBC Bank. Hello?
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, we're
You're
good.
good.
We caught a picket at HSBC Bank, which what's it called? Apparently, like one of the things had on the sign that I remember was the CEO gets paid $11 million per year, and the average worker gets paid $11 per hour. Just that's one inequality there issue. We did that for maybe 20 minutes, and then headed back to Bryant Park. And at that point, it was a massive drum circle, and actually before the drum circle, I heard there was a picket at Bank of America. So I went over there because I heard there's people over there, and seemed like there's more action going over there. So I headed over to Bank of America, and we just walked around. Some people inside Bank of America were actually looking out at us, like just not really saying anything, just like looking out with curiosity what we were doing, whatever. And then a massive group of probably about 200 or 300 people randomly came up and started walking with us. At this point, I think Nate got with it also. So I'm gonna try and
Yeah,
yeah.
there were like 6 of us right there at that Bank of America picket in the morning,
Yeah.
like streaming.
Yeah.
They're like, where else? Can we split this up a bit? Like,
I heard there was a picket outside News Corp. I'm like, I think I'm going to head over there. But then the 200, 300 people started coming over. I'm like, okay, I'm staying here. 5 streamers can't handle all of this. So I'm just like, we do the best we can. So I stayed there. And we walked down to Broadway, went over to 45th, made a right up to 6th Ave, hung out outside the CBS building with a picket there. And then around the Rockefeller Center. And Nate can probably give you more. I'll let Nate talk more about this one. And then, what's it called? After that,
it's fine. You can go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go talk all the way through your what you did over at the high school in Brooklyn.
Cool. Yeah, I was next I went to the Paul Robeson High School walkout, which I originally thought that was just going to be Paul Robeson High School. And I just managed to catch up with that when I was there a little bit late, but I just managed to catch up with it as they were walking down Albany. And I caught up with them, and we walked down Fulton, like took maybe like 45 minutes to get to Fort Greene Park. And I heard that they were going to have I heard as we were walking that one person from Brooklyn Friends High School was walking out and going there. I heard one person. I probably heard wrong. But when you get to Fort Greene Park, Brooklyn Tech and Brooklyn Friends High School joined up with the Paul Robeson High School kids, and it was probably about 150 people there, which was excellent turnout. And they had speakouts, music. Someone actually thinks the Black Panther Party spoke a bit, which is cool. And that was that. Then I said, okay, I have to get out of here. And they were going to have some teach-ins, but I wanted to get some of the march to Union Square Park. So I headed to the train there, got to Union Square. There was a lot of interesting, I guess, performance art, which was nice. And then some music, of course, as well. And I think and there was alternative, like a lot of obviously like the discussion groups and whatever else, and that was cool. And then they had a what's it called, a rally in front of the park, which I'll let Nate, were you on the rally from Bryant Park to Union Square?
Was that the Guitar Me March?
Okay, yes, that one. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I wasn't on that one, so I'm looking forward to hearing about that one a lot, actually.
Sure.
What's it called? So I'm in Union Square, and Immortal Technique, which was fantastic, and Tom Morello played, which is awesome with the Guitar Me, and then we walked down Broadway. And the Broadway March was probably about 25,000 people. I really found it funny how the news reports afterward, after the night, said there were like 70, like 90 arrests, whatever, over the course of the day. And considering 20,000 people and 90 arrests, that's really fucking well. Excuse me, that's really well organized, if I might say so. Really well. We were well behaved. I guess behaved, if you understand the word. And they said, okay, 700 people in the People's Assembly afterward, and 90 arrests. They didn't mention at all how many people were actually in the permitted march in the news. No one mentions that. They mentioned the arrest and the other stuff, not the permitted march, so whatever.
So it was effectively blacked out in the city, in the mainstream media? Was that good?
Some mentioned little things, but it was barely spoken about.
Yeah.
So what's the limit on the hangouts? Because Carlisle was interested in jumping in too. Is it possible to add him?
Yeah. There's plenty of room.
Okay, can you send him an invite? Because he thought he was getting one, and he's asking me on Twitter if he can join in.
Yeah. I need.
Do you have his email?
Can somebody pop
Let
his
me see
email
if I can
address
get
up?
his email.
Put it in the chat window for me, Pop.
Let me get it from him. Hold on.
Okay, continue on, Matt. Sorry, we were interrupting.
By the way, am I slurring too much?
No,
Are
you're
you drunk?
Have you been drinking?
No. I've been told I have an issue with that. Anyway,
don't listen to anybody. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. We head down the march. I got in the march sort of towards the end of. I started with the group towards the back of as everyone was walking down Broadway. And my feeling was get on the march and just walk slowly up the front of it to catch as much as I can. I caught one woman who was standing on top of a I saw like the Guitar Me. I saw some people walking around with a tarp, and that was really cool. I saw one woman standing on top of a vendor cart who ended up getting arrested, but and there were a few police officers standing around her, and those officers, like, I can understand an officer standing around her for like safety purposes. That makes perfect sense. Like, if she wants to get down safely, a few officers being around there, whatever. I'm not gonna make a complaint about that. However, she's on top of there, and even the guy in the vendor cart didn't seem to care at all. He just like
she was filming up there. She wasn't just standing up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was filming up there. She was filming up there a little bit. Either way, she not even the vendor guy seemed to mind. And then police told her to get down like maybe 4 or 5 times, whatever. And then she finally gets down, and then they arrest her. I can understand the point of what's it called? I can understand the point of being there for safety, but if the vendor doesn't mind her being up there, why is it such a big deal, and why is it an arrestable offense for her to be on top of a vendor cart? If she's being responsible, that boggled me.
Well, it's probably more dangerous for the people who are hanging out their windows looking at the 30,000 person march too than what she was doing, standing 4 feet up on a vendor.
And then after as she was getting down, she had to give her camera to someone else first. The only people around her were police officers, and everyone starts going, "No, don't do it, don't do it." And she ends up giving the camera to them, and everyone just starts screaming like in massive defeat or whatever. And then she gets down and she gets arrested, and we're all saying get the camera and get her name, and I think someone did get her name, which was cool. So that was a bit disappointing. It's in my live feed. And then we get to the end of it, and pretty much my thinking was the march was fun. The entire day was really inspiring. But when we got to the end after the permitted march, and I knew there's going to be some actual Occupy whatever actions, I'm like, okay, now the fun begins. So we get to Veterans Memorial Park, and there was 700 people there. It was a really nice people's assembly. And then the police start surrounding us there around 10, and then what's it called? And then we did a little bit of march there, and then I walked to the Wall Street waterfront at one point, and then I went to Zuccotti Park, to Liberty Square, to see what was up there, and then and that was pretty much the night for me.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
A long night, and I know for a fact I remember seeing you at Water Street because you had that angle to the right of the memorial. And Nate, kind of tell us a little bit about your day there, and the things you saw. And I'm interested, and everybody can kind of chime in. Just generally, what the vibes were of the people in the marches and around you. Was it positive? Was it tense? How were the police reacting? Those kinds of things, like some atmospheric things. I'm really interested in what's your perspective on how people seem to be feeling and acting.
Well, Matt covered most of the day.
I offered you a chance.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. I will say, let's see. When you were at the high school streaming over in Brooklyn, I was by Bryant Park, and I was just walking down the street. Someone was listening to a police scanner and told me that they heard that 30 people were sitting in an intersection somewhere about to get arrested, and wow. So I went to head towards that, and I couldn't find that. So I don't know if that was misinformation on the police part. But as I was walking towards that, 6 or 7 paddy wagons full of police just roar up to 41st and Park Street, or Park Ave. And I'm like, whoa, what is it? So I walk over, and as I'm walking towards this corner, I get like 3 texts from, Occupy friends saying police are about to kettle a bunch of people on 41st and Park. And I was like, hey, guys, I'm here. I'm going live. So I go live, and there was a Wells Fargo there, and I'm not sure what the march was. This march was protesting everything. This march that happened to be staying right there, probably 200 people, 250, and so they're all just in front of this Wells Fargo, effectively shutting it down, and just 150 riot police or so come and they start kettling it just a little bit, and as the police are finishing their line, all the protesters just went around them and came to the other side, and we continued marching down the street, protested at a Capitol Grill, and then a Chipotle, I think, then we went back to Bryant, and then and then there was the Guitar Army March at 2 o'clock that Tom Morello was a part of, and that got a little crazy. Also, before that, at 1 o'clock, there was a march that we called the Wildcat March, and I was not on that one, but that's the march that garnered the most arrests. It was 300 people, and just as the march was starting, it was mostly a black bloc march. Just as the march was starting, the police would start arresting people. They grabbed something like 7 or 8 people out of the crowd before the march, even hit the streets or anything, and arrested them. I don't know much more about the march other than that it was heading to Washington Square Park, and they took the streets, and they were running just about the whole time that they were heading to Washington Square Park, throwing barricades in the street, trash cans, you name it. But yeah, I think there were about my friends who were on the march said that they saw a dozen arrests. That's what they saw. There's probably 20 to 25 to 30 arrests, I think, during that march. So the Guitar Army March started at 2 o'clock, and that's one Tom Morello was a part of. Around 1 o'clock, people with their guitars, they all sort of did a rehearsal. I think they were practicing songs like "Which Side Are You On" and some others. And so it started off, and it was the vibe of that march was awesome as we began. It felt like a hippies sort of 60s march because, here all these people are playing their music, and it was great. It was really cool. And I'd say about 20 minutes in, we have like 1,000 people on this march, so it's big. And 20 minutes in, people just start coming into the street a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then there's a group of people that just sort of take the streets. And that happened as we were rounding a corner. And so there's a group of people just go out into the streets, and everybody at that point flooded the streets. And which is something, I spent the last 3 months in D.C. If you want the streets and protests, you can take the streets with 8 people. I've been on an 8-person march walking through the streets. You can't do that in New York City, and so I had to sort of reacclimate to that and remember that taking the streets in New York City is a serious action. So we all take the streets, and the police start pushing people off, into the sidewalk, but they're mainly grabbing just like one person at a time, and there was 1,000 of us there, and probably 100 cops. So, and I think that's because most of their forces were over at the Wildcat March. So there weren't that many police for this permitted march that they probably thought was going to stay on the sidewalk. So we take the streets, and we're going down, and the police are having a real hard time forcing us onto the sidewalk. And, I think 2 times the police formed a line with the motorcycles, the little Vespas, and
I hate those things.
And
every time I see them, I just want to kick them over like dominoes,
Right. You know what those things are meant for? They're, from what I've heard, and it might be conspiracy theory or something, but I could believe this one. Those motorcycles are meant for ramming into crowds of people without really killing anybody, but like you can ram that into people and it won't. I think the first time they were used in New York City, they were breaking legs and stuff with them. But I digress. So they were blocking the streets off with these things, not all the way across. So, and as we're walking up, people are just yelling, "Walk around!" And we do. I think they were trying to stop the march so that they could forced us to the side. But yeah, we just walked around, happened twice, and then eventually the police just gave up. And there was one part of the march. I mean, so we were running through the streets for probably about 20 minutes. You know, when the police started forcing people off, like that's when, okay, let's jet. So we all ran. This march was going to Union Square. And so we were running, and the front part of the march realized that, you know, we were probably 300 to 400 people large, and there were 600 or so behind us yet, and there was a big gap. So what we did was, you know, we got up there, and someone mic checked and said, "Everybody sit down. We are doing this so the back of the march can catch up." The police at that point had given up, so they weren't trying to keep us off the streets. So we probably had like 200 people sit down right there in the street. Waiting for the back of the march to catch up, which was really cool in terms of solidarity. You know, like we were probably 5 blocks from Union Square, and we could have just went, but you know, we stopped and we waited for the march to catch up and went as one big group, and it was really cool. And the unions were you know, there was a rally there. I think the unions had put on, which was really cool. A lot of great stuff that went on there, and then the March to Wall Street occurred down Broadway. 3 hours of a march. I was at the back with the Occupy part of the march the whole time. Started at 5:30. We hit Wall Street around 8:30. Got to Veterans Memorial Park around 9. So that was just a really insanely long march. And one of the members, I also streamed that woman getting arrested on that on the food cart. But another really crazy moment that happened was when we got up to the Wall Street Bowl. So at this point, we're all pissed, you know, because I don't know how that worked either, because, you know, it took so long for us to get to Wall Street, and I don't know where it was all the unions and all the other groups that were in front of Occupy. Did they, and you might be able to answer this for me, Matt, did the unions actually march on Wall Street and then they close it off to Occupy? Is that what happened, or?
When I got there by the tail end, I didn't see anyone going into Wall Street. From what I understood, they had Wall Street closed off the entire time, but I might be mistaken about that, or I might be misinformed.
So thousands of people just, I guess, you know, went to Wall Street and then left.
It was supposed to end with a TWU, Transit Workers Union rally outside the MTA building. It was supposed to end with that, and I got there at the tail end of that. But as far as I don't know about any other marches, any other diversions off Broadway.
Okay. So we're going up Wall Street going down Broadway, and you know, after Wall Street was blocked off, and we're mad because, you know, we just marched 3 hours to take Wall Street, and we're called Occupy Wall Street. We enjoy taking Wall Street. You take that away from us. You know, when you take the target of a march away, things get really confused. You know, we were marching to take Wall Street, and they took the target, and so things were a little hairy there for a bit. Eventually, the police actually blocked off one half of Occupy. You know, the occupiers that were there. I don't know what happened with that. I remember we marched on. But at that point, when we were at the Wall Street Bull, someone got arrested and was put in the back of the squad car right there by the Bull, and he was really giving the police a lot of grief. And they closed the door, and, you know, I don't know what was happening. The police kept opening it and talking to him, then closing the door, and then opening it and talking and closing the door. And this guy who was in the back of the squad car lays on his back and just kicks the side window 3 or 4 times until finally it just smashes. So shattered a police car back window from the inside, which was kind of crazy. I think there's one YouTube video of it that I could find online. But yeah, then we went to Veterans Memorial Park, and
it sounds awesome.
We had a people's assembly there, and there were probably 700 people there or so. And you know how a people's assembly works is people get on stack and they say what they want. So we got there around 8:45, 9 o'clock, and you know, people were getting scared because the park closes at 10, and the police were like in huge numbers. You know, they just wanted the day to be over so they could go. Yeah. And so 10 o'clock rolls around, and the police are really forming up, and 10:15 rolls around, and one of them jumps on the bullhorn and says, "You guys got to leave." And some clergymen and veterans, war veterans, decided to stay behind and get arrested because occupiers decided to stay, and sort of took the arrests first before the occupiers got arrested, which I thought was a pretty cool message. And
Nice.
yeah, that's basically how it worked out. Some folks went to Zuccotti afterwards, and then that dissipated, and that was the end of May 1st. And we were all just so damn tired. I didn't eat a thing the whole day and probably had a bottle of water. So it was around then that, like, all right, guys, let's go find somewhere to sleep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a point I want to make just for the viewers that we follow you guys and working with you and doing production and all, and having been on the ground in other places myself, it is physically and emotionally grueling, and that's a
Yes.
long, hard day under tense conditions, and we're really grateful you guys are doing that for us, because it's absolutely, it's a sacrifice so you can get the messages out there and show us what's going on, and that applies in every environment. I mean, poor Chris is sitting over here and hasn't spoken up lately, but even in the smaller occupies, the same rules apply. It's being a streamer or being a citizen journalist is a challenging thing on a good day, and we're grateful that you guys do it. So I want to talk a little bit about numbers. You guys had, by my guess and everything I could see, roughly 30,000 in New York. Punk, how are your numbers in the Bay Area on May 1? Was it pretty good?
Well, let's see. San Francisco, we had maybe between 1,000 and 1,500 with the unions joining in and everything. Oakland, I guess how many do you think there was in Oakland? About 4,000 to 5,000. It seemed
Nice.
everybody flocked over there, especially when the police started to misbehave. Like, everybody went over there for support. A lot of people left San Francisco to go to Oakland, and they left me as pretty much the only streamer out in. All right, so Carlisle's also trying to get in. I was trying to explain. He kept looking for an email, and I told him it's like he just needs to go to the Hangout page and then look for the Hangout, because I didn't actually get an email either. I got an email saying that I was invited, but not that you could just click on to bring directly into it. So I'm trying to explain to him how to get in.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it seemed a lot of people flocked to Oakland. They left me as the only streamer in San Francisco, so I felt like I couldn't go off to Oakland, and I'm sure I'll get my share of tear gas in Chicago. So I wasn't willing to run off to Oakland to get some extra tear gas beforehand.
We don't wish that on anybody. So. And
Chris, I'm not wishing it, but I was in Seattle in '99. I know how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
This is
Wow.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be the same group of people that fly around the world to protest these big, international type of things like the IMF, the WTO, the G8, the G20. It's going to be that same group of people that fly around to start shit no matter where those kind of meetings take place.
Right.
So be prepared for anything if you're coming to Chicago. And it's like. When Tangelo, I think it was Tangelo or maybe Revolutionary Z was talking to one of the police in Chicago, and they said, "So are you worried about the NATO thing?" They said, "We're not worried about occupiers. We're worried about everybody else who comes to these things."
Right.
So, and then there's all these false flags that everyone's reporting might happen. So, keep on your toes and always have a buddy with you if you're going to be out there streaming.
Right. Chris, I was wondering if you were in contact with Tangelo on May 1st out of Chicago. We were struck by it. I think a lot of people expected Chicago to be really busy, and it was really mellow, which was interesting. And we had hoped to get him on tonight, but he couldn't make it. So, was wondering.
No, I haven't talked to him.
Yeah. And so Occupy Nashville's day kind of was wound up at a reasonable time on May Day. Is that right? It didn't run late into the night?
Yeah. It wasn't too late, but we walked from Centennial Park to Occupy Vanderbilt, and it was still about 50 people, and I think most of us are feeling rather discouraged because it's gotten so much smaller, and we were small to begin with. But we're struggling. I mean, what made news in the past few days is that Metro took our porta-john from the plaza. So that's where we're at. We lost our porta-john, and that's, we can't even get arrested. We're doing all we can. So yeah.
Hey, we
There's
have
Travis.
another
I see him.
participant.
There's Carlisle.
Hey, I saw him
Maybe
pop
not
up.
video yet, but I
Yeah,
see.
I saw the warning come up, but I don't
Yeah,
see
hang
him
on.
here.
Let's make the window bigger. We getting
He's incognito.
Yeah, he's undercover Carlisle. So he's not showing up. Carlisle, are you in with
He's
us?
at least he's at least in chat.
Yeah. Well, if he's in chat,
Let me
then
send him something in chat.
Oh yeah, there's a chat here.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt there, Chris. So, what's the level of enthusiasm for your group there? Is everybody hanging kind of tough, or is it getting a little bit discouraged because you're, you know?
Yeah, it's discouraging right now because there's really about 10 of us that are holding it together, going to GAs, trying to plan things, do outreach, direct action. It's just really a very small group of us now, and everyone else has either gone to Occupy Vanderbilt or to the 99-cent Spring or their own little things that they're working on, and we're trying to rebuild it. And we got some internal conflict a long while back that we're still trying to recover from, reestablishing ourselves and recovering from that. And after the eviction, it just fell into, so we're just trying to rebuild it.
Yep.
And we weren't big to begin with, so we're really down to the barrel, so.
Right.
But
Well,
we're not leaving. We're not giving up. We are not giving up. So you can count on that.
All it takes is one person, and you got an Occupy. And
That's right.
It's
like
what's our
like
favorite? Our
but
favorite thing is, about if you think you're too small to make a difference, you never spent a night in a room with a mosquito. So
there's another thing. Hey, it's there's a saying too that if you get two recovering alcoholics together, you got an AA meeting,
Right.
and that's basically the same concept. You've got a couple of occupiers, and then like what was said before, 8 people can shut down a roadway. So we're just gonna have to try some of that,
Yeah, and I wonder, what's the difference in, I don't know, this might be an elementary question, but what's the difference in D.C. and New York that you can shut down a street with 8 people in D.C. and in New York it takes 30,000?
It's I guess it's because DC is the national capital, and if they're stepping on your rights there, it makes the whole country look bad. I think
we're
that's
moved
the
over.
idea.
Somebody's joining. There we go.
There's Carlisle.
He's here.
Did I make it?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
Yeah,
did.
you're in.
now.
Yay.
Welcome,
Yeah,
I've
Carlisle.
been trying
All right.
forever.
Yeah. This
Thank
thing's
you
a
for your
pain in the butt. It's the
tenacity.
first time I've used it, so.
So,
Oh man, all
sorry,
these video
Nate,
feeds are shutting my computer down.
Continue, Nate. I'm sorry. So we got nation's capital, and so it looks worse.
Yeah,
if
I think. Right, I think it makes them it makes the police, it makes just the whole government look a lot worse if they're shutting down the practicing of the First Amendment in the nation's capital. So I think that's why they're more gentle with us over there in D.C.
And also, I think that it's the clusterfuck of like six separate like jurisdictions. That it's like 1 minute you're on one jurisdiction for the park and the National Park Service, the next minute you're DC Police, the next minute you're Capitol Cops. I mean, It just depends where you're standing, and they don't want to do the paperwork to hand you off from one jurisdiction to the next. If you get arrested in one place, then they got to do all the paperwork to sign you off to the DC Police. And
Right.
Well, whatever works for our advantage.
at least that was how it was explained to me when I was out there. So it was just like, be aware of where you're at to know which cops to watch out for, because the minute you step onto one piece of property, you're off of somebody else's jurisdiction, and like they don't always necessarily want to have to deal with each other because a lot of them hate each other. It sounds like.
Right. That's true.
So Carlisle, welcome to the group. Oh no!
Oh, he's gone.
What?
He's gone.
Oh no!
So just tell your people that you guys are still in it, and it's going to work out somehow. So don't give up the fight, as the song says. I was wondering.
Can I say I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but thank you for bringing this up and letting me join in, because today I swear I was in tears feeling discouraged. And you guys have revived my energy and my dedication and feeling that we're going to make it even if we are small. And thank you all for everything you do. So thank you.
Well, we're all in it together, and so we need to help each other out. I'm interested to see if Carlisle gets back in or not. You, we dare not be, like we could go, okay, we're wrapping it up, folks, and that would be awful, right? So I was wondering who's going to Chicago. I know Punk is. Who else? You
I will.
Nate?
I haven't gotten reservations for it yet, but I'm pretty sure I will.
Yeah.
I'll probably get them tonight.
Yeah.
I am going.
Okay. And you were talking about the Occubus going to Chicago earlier.
Yeah, free bus leaving from a lot of cities. You go to 99solidarity.net and just check out the list of cities they have. There's 10 or 11 cities, I think, and you can get a free bus to Chicago, leaving the 16th or the 17th, depending on where it is, I think. The problem is if you can't get at least 50 people for that bus, which I think is the maximum, so if you don't fill out the bus, they're going to cancel the bus. So,
oh, wow.
So you really got. We're probably fine here in New York City. I think people in D.C. really need to get the word out about that. So yeah, I get that's what's going to happen if you want to go to Chicago for free. Get 50 people who want to take the bus. I'm not sure who's putting it together other than 99solidarity.net where they're getting the funding.
Right. Well, that's a good place for everybody to start looking. And I had a question because something you mentioned made me think about it. And Punk, I don't know if you experience this much, and it sounds to me like Chris and Tangelo are probably the only two streamers out of ON. But I was wondering, what do you do when there's a concentration of streamers? Like you said, you guys were in one spot and there was 5 streamers, and we see this occasionally, like there'll be a gang of streamers and they just start streaming each other and everything. Is that just like coincidental on how the ebb and flow of these marches go, or do you guys have like some kind of tactical discussion and say, okay, you go north, east, west, or how does all that work out? And are you aware when other streamers are just right around the area? I could see where that would be good because you got somebody watching your back and everything. Everybody's watching everybody else's back. But I was just wondering kind of what, as a person on the ground and moving with the flow of these marches, how do you guys address that kind of stuff? Punk can go first if you want.
Oh, repeat that again. I was just getting an update on the farm. Sorry.
Carlisle on. Okay. I was just asking.
No. I was getting an update on the farm.
Okay.
There's a new article that was just coming out, and I was catching up on it. It seems like they may get it extended, but that stuff may end up. All right. But that. Anyway, it seems like they may still have till Monday. From what I last. So what was the question?
I was saying, like when you're in a march or in an action and there's multiple streamers like right in the same area, like how do you guys as streamers or journalists deal with that? Do you come up with a tactical move like how you're going to disperse, or do you just kind of play it by ear, or what happens?
Usually if we end up sort of in a stream clusterfuck, like it's usually because we're just like talking for a second, and then generally we try to go and cover other things. So it doesn't usually end up as a problem unless we're sort of in a kettle or something. Then we kind of need to, discuss. There's Travis again. I see the Hangouts moving.
Yeah.
And but I mean, on big actions, such as when I was down in Occupy LA, I did go to a strategizing meeting with the media working group or the media group that they had there.
Yeah.
So where we sort of, but once the cops come in, it's sort of all bets are off. I mean, at least during the raid times. But for big actions and stuff.
No, you're good, Carlisle.
Yeah. Oh, his computer froze. We see you now.
He's
we see you, Carlisle.
Yeah.
They're saying they're seeing me, but I don't know how.
Because
I see
you
you
have really
right
good
there.
eyes.
I see you. You got a big 99% in red behind your red shirt there.
We have bionic eyes right now. That's how we can see you.
Oh, yeah.
So how about
the way this works is
I don't
Yeah,
see
why don't
that.
we so while he's not frozen, why don't we hand off to Travis and he can debrief on, you were in New York, right, Trav?
I was in New York. Yes, I'm back in DC.
Okay. And are you originally out of DC for most of the time?
Oh, I think it's connecting again.
We hear you, we hear you.
We
Just
hear
keep
you and see
talking.
you, dude.
Look at Punk Boy. He's taking a
I
nap.
hear,
He's
I
like,
hear like a lot of people talking all at once.
well, that's sort of the way it goes.
This is weird.
Make sure your video's on. Or whatever.
Yeah, the Google server keeps messing up. I don't know what's going on here.
All right, well, we hear you. Just debrief us on how stuff went in New York on May Day.
Well, it kind of goes back to what Nate said. We actually started out.
You're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder
Dude.
if he's got a.
He may be having bandwidth issues, I don't
Yeah.
know.
That could be.
Carlisle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Well,
Then
keep
talk.
going then.
You just keep talking. We hear you. So just go.
Oh, maybe we lost him.
No, I think he's good still.
Oh, this is acting really weird. Am I still here, guys?
Yeah,
Somebody-
yeah, but I
okay,
think you
I
got
do.
a hell of a lag going on there for some reason. I don't understand it. Well,
No lag on my end.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
There
we
he's
lost him
gone.
again.
All right. Well, we'll wait for him to come back. And so, just quick hit on the New York when you have the crowd streamers going on. You guys go, oh, just there's a bunch of us here. Let's all go different places and go cover different things. Is that about what it is?
Nate, you want to take it?
No, you go for it.
I took it the last time. I took all your words. You sure?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I spoke a lot, I think.
All right,
So
cool.
go ahead.
I'm
We haven't heard
I'm
from
doing
you.
step up. I'm doing step up, step up, step back right now. Whatever. Okay. What's it called? Yeah, as usually like if there's a large group, like I think like we always try to we generally like have gotten to the point now where like telling each other, okay, why don't you go there, go there, go there. If like this when we're gonna go on pickets. Like in this small group, usually like there's several pickets. Usually we say to each other, okay, you go to that one, just organize which one you want to go to, and like then they go there. But if there's a larger group, like it can get more confusing, especially if someone's getting arrested or whatever, because we all want to get that on film. But generally, like there is some coordination going on, and we often pass by each other all the time when we're streaming anyway.
Right. So
Nate, you're to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, it breaks down a lot to how big the action is. If you know that something else is going on, if you know something else is going on, and you get to one action, and there's a ton of streamers there, you can walk amongst them and be like, something else is going on, right? Would you like to maybe cover that, or maybe I'll go over there and you guys stay here. Let's try to get half and half. So yeah, I mean, there is communication among streamers, and you just have to feel out the situation. Well, if there's like a 300-person march, and you don't know of anything else going on, then everyone cover it, because that's definitely big enough that everyone's going to have a different perspective of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be covering the same action
Right.
with a lot of streamers, but you're all going to have
different angles.
because you're going to have different angles. Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
Which is something really good because we're so used to that camera showing us what's going on, but we forget that it's only a piece of what's going on, that there's a lot more peripheral to going that.
Yeah.
So having the multiple angles are good. I have a question that was asked earlier that I want to toss out. I saved it because I thought it was good. Everybody's aware of the deal that went down in Cleveland and the bridge bombing crap and all that.
That wasn't us though, but yeah.
Well, it wasn't us, but it did bring up the question: does Occupy Cleveland, and I'll expand that to all occupies, plan to create, for lack of a better term, any rules, or is there any process to help prevent our name from being smeared by violent activists? You know, another good example is the things that you guys experience in San Francisco, Pump. It's like, how is
You're
an
talking about
organization?
the mitosis slash schism that's caused a divide, and I sort of said, well, you know, congrats, Wells Fargo. This is probably the divide and conquer issue that you guys are hoping for. Yeah. So the way that things have been handled, and when I went to the Thursday General Assembly, they just wanted to put out a statement denouncing. Oh, on and off. They wanted to try to put out a statement denouncing what had happened on Monday, on the night before with the agents, and there were a couple people blocking, and we still work on an impossible 100% consensus in Occupy San Francisco. And so basically what happened was a mitosis, and so now there is the Occupy Bay Area United, which formed that night, and they had their first General Assembly, which I missed yesterday. And that's basically now a haven for people who are totally dead set against violence, which they also construe property destruction as violence, which I understand targeted property destruction, so I cannot denounce all property destruction, but you smash the state, you don't smash your neighbors. Is how I look at it. And they wanted to make sure that, and the two blockers wanted to insist that gentrification and some other language was added into that statement, and it became an impasse after 6.5 hours of trying to agree on something. So now there's a place for people who don't want to, because Occupy Oakland lost a lot of people when the fuck the police marches and stuff sort of took hold and became a weekly thing. So Occupy Bay Area United now has sort of become the alternative to the other city occupies in the Bay Area for the people who don't want to be part of that. I still don't know how I feel about it. Like, I still support, you know, even if there's going to be a sort of mitosis going on, like, you know, as long as we can all work together at key points, like, I guess it's not too terrible of a thing. And the way everybody looked at it was sort of like the division that happened in the civil rights movement between the MLK, Kingian people and the Malcolm X kind of people. But the slippery slope to that is then you end up with the Weather Underground at the end of it, and I don't think anybody really wants that yet.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a good analogy in historical context. So it brings up my next question, and we'll probably bring this event, unless we have Carlisle on who can speak and, you know, tell us what's up. Are you hearing us, buddy? I think Carlisle has bandwidth problems.
Carlisle?
Are you hearing us, Trav?
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. Hold on.
We need our technical difficulties, please stand by thing. Well, I'll go ahead and ask my question, and then if he's able to respond to it, good. So I'm involved with a lot of people in this conversation of revolution versus reform. Because
we talked about that last time.
Right, and so we've expanded on that. So I just want to get some personal observations from all of you, you know, not trying to pin you down, but, you know, kind of what do you think, Chris, about the gap between revolution and reform?
We've brought that up several times just recently in a couple of GAs. A lot of it's not very conflicting right now, because what we're trying to do is have a diversity of tactics. So we have people that want to go for the reform, and like myself and a couple other people are revolutionaries primarily. And we're trying to like do a little bit of everything if we can and work it together. So and so far the real division between that has already divided, and we're trying to bring some of that together and work it out. So it's not too bad. We'll see.
Okay. Talking to me live. Hey, where are you? You know, kind of what are your observations on that, revolution or reform, and how to build bridges between the two?
Are you talking to me?
No, I was asking Nate.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Someone called me, so I had to hang up and text them like I'm live right now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm such a dynamic interviewer. I can see how that would happen. So,
oh man,
revolution,
Pay attention.
reform.
Right. That's a good question. I don't think I've thought about it enough to. So I'm just gonna put out my first list of, I guess my first ideas that come to mind when I hear that idea. I think revolution, as in I guess changing to a new kind of society or something like that. It's really difficult. I mean, especially going through the laws and doing it by the book. It's those who want capitalism in place are those who own the country, and they're gonna. I guess Carlisle's gone. They're gonna. Those with all the power are gonna be the obstacle to go against. If in a revolution kind of. I just don't think it's that possible without getting violent. And I don't want to see any of this get violent. So I'm just with a realistic kind of mindset. I think I lean towards reform. Like I said, these are my first. I haven't really had a conversation about it with people. But yeah, I just think reform's more realistic. Maybe if we can fix the system we have, because any system really is corruptible if mass amounts of people turn their attention away from it. So I think that may be what's going on in this country. So we just need to get people looking at the government again. Is I guess my idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, you want to weigh in?
Cool. Okay. Cool. What's it called? I definitely want social and cultural revolution. As far as what I want in the end is positive social, political, and economic change. Be that through revolution or reform, I don't care. I prefer reform because that implies a lot less violence. And I think that I think it's very possible to use what we have. It's my personal thing. I think it is just in the past since since Kennedy died, and even maybe a little bit after that, since Nixon or whatever, it's the political discussions don't really happen. It's largely just you go and vote for someone, and then you have discussions with people but not really people outside of your friend circle. And if the more you have that, the more you can realize that there's a lot of issues that are more community oriented, and that can which is social and cultural revolution. And that can, that can build public support for certain things and realize that everyone's in the same boat together, and then you pressure the government, and I think that they would listen if there's not a lot of pressure for it. If not, then things are a lot worse off than we think they are, or than I think they are. But what's it called? I definitely want reforms, at least. I think I'm not sure what will actually happen. I want positive change, really. Simply put, I want change. I want more involvement in the government, and I want more community. Also, if what's it called, quote unquote revolution. If you actually have that, it's really hard to create a new system. Whereas if you just work the system to what you have right now, with what's more plausible, and in the end, in New York you have a lot of people very radical. In a red state, how would they react to something like that? I mean, because in the end, New York and a really radicalized place can be very passionate and very certain, we want this to happen, whatever. But somebody that's more moderate is not going to go that far.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, in the end, as even Noam Chomsky said, no movement can ever. Every movement reaches farther than it can actually grasp. So, where are we actually going to get in the end?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a great quote by Chomsky. Punk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talked about this a good bit.
A way to bridge the two it's sort of going to be, I'm guessing it's either going to get really bad really quick, or it's going to end up being sort of, there's a word I'm looking for. The people with the revolutionary mindset may have to acquiesce to the reforms, but they're going to have to be some severely drastic reforms for any of the revolutionaries to be content with what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't just be reinstatement of Glass-Steagall, some bans of lobbyists. I mean, those are just temporary, like those are not even band-aids. They're just like those little tiny like mosquito bite band-aids on a
Yeah.
big, huge, like gaping wound that we've got going right now.
Right.
Is there a way to bridge the two? I'm not sure if there is. I mean, there's some people dead bent on destruction of everything to try to rebuild it from scratch. But I mean, one way that would help that along is if we get one of those giant sort of solar storms that like there was one that I was watching on the Nova special. They've got these new satellites that are showing the sun like in greater detail and different wavelengths than they've ever seen before. And from historic record, before we had a huge like electrical grid, there was one that happened, I think it was like 1850s, 1870s, where if it happened today, it would take out all of the electrical grid. And
Really?
as much as that sounds very scary, maybe people would actually start to rely on themselves and word of mouth and actual, reality for what they're seeing is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And, as much as we might not be able to take out the corporate media machine, if nature helps us along, and this is 2012, I think that might, that might cause a little civil unrest and a little bit of, it would take them quite a while. They'll either come out with some alternative energy sources that they've been stifling very quickly to make sure that their corporate machine gets back on track very fast, or if it's not true that what all those people talk about, that there are ways of making unsurmountable energy just by tapping into the natural energy of the earth and the torus and all that stuff from Thrive. Like if all that stuff's true and they've been stifling it, they'll either come out with it really, really quickly if the actual grid goes down and they need their mind control machine back on order very quickly, or we'll have to work together to rebuild all this stuff, and that might be the I mean, if anybody's been in an earthquake or a hurricane or a tornado or any of those huge natural disasters, one of the most beautiful things that does come out of it is people drop their bullshit differences and they just get out there and help each other as other human beings.
That's right.
So
Shared
if something like
misery
that
is
does
a great
happen,
bonding experience.
Yeah.
I remember you said about the media and like how like the corporate media and whatever. I was asked this. I'll say this quickly to let to not take up too much time. But I remember someone asked me about this before, like with regards to the mainstream media and what we're doing. I think in the end there's going to be a massive change because even CNN saw like a massive drop in viewership, as even did Fox did. And I think what we're doing is actually coming back. It's coming up, and corporate media is all production based and it's all like based on money. But what we're doing is really just it's user based and it's all largely free based on market advertising paper stuff, but past that it's all like user based. So there's a very different thing going on here, and it's eventually going to get bigger unless they can sort of figure out how the trends are going and how to analyze that as they're trying to. I read the NSA is actually trying to analyze user data or whatever like that. And
yeah,
like,
do you know how they're doing that? They're using that Watson program from IBM.
Really?
On Jeopardy, they're
one on
applying
Jeopardy?
it. Yeah. So Jeopardy seems a lot more ominous now, but I think I get where you're going. Like the way I've been looking at it is a lot of people in Europe and where socialism is more accepted, and now with Hollande winning the election over in France, social media and all sorts of things are basically sort of. I think that humanity is crying out for a society that supports itself, that's sustainable. And with Facebook and Google and Twitter, I mean, people are crying out for a socialist society, yet it's such a bad word here. But, we have socialism on the internet. I mean, the internet is a huge socialist experiment of user-based and user interactivity. And, I mean, they've been trying to turn Facebook into a big corporate machine, but I mean, other than sharing when you go and, it's all their attempt to monetize on the socialism. But it seems that, I mean, even some of the most violent video games and stuff that comes out as a competitive video game, the ones that still make the most money and are the most compelling and keep users over long periods of time are ones where people work together for a greater cause inside the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once people realize that, yeah. There was a really great series that comes out of the Computer Science Museum out here called Revolutionaries, and I had started recording it hoping it would be about historic revolutionaries, but they're actually talking about technological revolutionaries. And there was a tech reporter who pointed out a lot of that stuff, that a lot of the stuff that happens in gaming is sort of a big social experiment. And
Okay, well, I have two more questions, and then I want to wrap it up. Thank you guys all for your time.
Is that a marshmallow on your mic, or are you just happy to see us?
That's a marshmallow on my mic. Yeah. So my pop filter, crapped out along with everything else, so it's just like a piece of foam stuck on there. So, first of all, everybody wants me to ask Chris, is there any way or any place that we can help connect with Occupy Nashville and help you guys up to keep the fire burning? If you want to give a shout out or some information on that, now's the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, we are definitely still on Facebook and Twitter. Right now, our forums, our website, and things like that, we are going to have to start up some new a new website and things like that. We're going to have to switch that over. There has been some problems keeping updated on those websites. So when people have been going to our OccupyNashville.org, it looks like we're not doing anything, and that's made a real bad effect on us. So we're trying to switch that over. Right now, the best way to get updates and information is on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll have to go from there as things get further along on switching that stuff over. And we appreciate that anybody would love, we really need that people know that we are still out there, because people are asking, are you there? We thought you were gone. So we do want people to bring that out for us, and thank you all very much for that. So we'll keep y'all updated if you just like the Occupy Nashville on Facebook and all that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the next question I have, let me get back to it because it was a good one. Uppity asks, has being a streamer changed the way that you personally view the world?
Who is that question to?
Anybody that wants to answer it. It's a collective question.
I'll jump on that one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Being a streamer is actually, it matches up with the way I view the world. I've always sort of been an observer, and I'm 23. I've spent most of my life in class. I was never the kind of person who participated much in class, and that's sort of a small example of how I've sort of always been. I observe, I watch, and that's what, so streaming actually, it is how I view the world. And so, yeah, when you watch my stream, you're watching, how I see it. So.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I'll go if no one else. You want to go?
Me?
You spoke up.
Yeah, well, I was gonna agree with what Nate had said. I am the same way. I'm a photographer and a videographer, and I'm more comfortable behind the camera. And this is really not natural for me to be on the screen. But I agree that with an observer, you can show people what you see, and it's a wonderful way to express yourself. So yeah, it's doing it for political activity is really exciting too. So yeah.
I'll go. It certainly fits right in. It's what's it called? I even before Occupy started, I was posting a lot on Facebook. I never really figured out how to use Twitter until Occupy started, and I realized it's kind of like a mic check and with short passages. But I would go on long rants and long discussions on Facebook, and I've had long discussions on different topics and back and forths on Facebook, and it kind of And then like I went to Occupy, and I was already filming stuff anyway. And the only difference was when like I was filming stuff and putting it on YouTube, and then the only difference between that and what I'm doing now is I'm doing it live. And yeah, so it's like it's really just like in my way, like it's I didn't think about this at the time, but you're kind of like your own anchor when you're live streaming, which is really cool. And so it just fits it in. It's like observation, and like you're just tying into other things you've seen already. And yeah, it's just the people's narrative, I guess.
That's a good way to put it.
So, and if anybody has not watched Max Headroom, the show from the 80s, I highly suggest going, and whether you have to buy it or torrent it or however you come across it. I mean, it's old, and I don't think they'd care much if anybody pirate it now. But there are so many parallels into what we do as streamers and into the rise of Anonymous. I mean, there was a whole society of people who deleted their identities out of the government computer systems on that show called Blanks. And then like blanks were being arrested, and then they released these sort of text-to-speech messages with like release the detained blanks, and it's a lot with the free anons, and I mean there's so many parallels. And it was like one guy with the camera going out and reporting the news, even though it was a big shoulder camera, because that was that was still their vision of future technology back then. And in fact, like they always set the show 20 minutes into the future. But yeah, Max Headroom, and there's even a guy out here. Am I still there? It says.
Yeah, you're still here.
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
No, but the thing, I guess, because I haven't moved the mouse. Didn't realize.
Oh yeah,
even though I'm talking.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so there's the Max Headroom aspect. But as far as like, did it fit in with what I thought I'd be doing? I didn't realize I'd be doing this like a year ago, and but all the stuff that I had sort of taught myself as a kid, like videography and like. I was doing editing, but I was doing it on these big, giant VHS decks that used to cost like $50 back in the day when I was a kid, and I sort of dropped out the editing part of it, but it sort of all fits in with exactly how I thought I would want to be working, but never wanted to do it with a corporate sponsor, and so I'm doing it on my own. I've honed my tools of observation through my 20s, like living on the street and everything, and I made sure that I was at the very bottom of that income divide so that I'd understand it for a very long time. And now that I've got my own place and, I'm fairly well off, like I feel I still have a good perspective on everything.
Right. I just want to chime in because everybody, people say, well, what do you think about that question? And I try not to interject myself too much into conversation, but Punk, you said something that kind of put the point in my mind because, of course, New Max Headroom, all that. And I feel like everything that I have done as an artist and so many jobs I've done and all these bits and pieces I've picked up and all the teaching I've done, etc., I feel like it's accumulating tools in a toolbox. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with them. And I had done a lot of sound, a lot of video, a lot of everything. And then as Occupy rolled around, I got more and more, involved in it. I realized this is how I can contribute. I have this skill set. I have these tools. I can help people get their voices out and all that. So I think that's, that's how it's changed me. It gave me a purpose to use my tools for, to help, expand education, communication, information. So, and I owe you guys all a lot of gratitude for inspiring me to do that and for being our eyes and ears out there in the field. Carlisle, bless you. Are you? Can you hear us? Can you see us?
Yeah, I can. Some of the audio and video is going on a time loop.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing past video and present video, and I can't tell who's talking live and who's going through the loop.
Right. Well,
sounds like you're in a warp bubble from Star Trek, where like the last thought of Crusher's of mind at the beginning of the episode just kept creating her reality there.
Yeah, the cone of silence or something.
Yeah, it's the theory of the Mobius.
Yeah.
Carlisle
becomes a loop.
Carla, it might help to get rid of the loop if you keep the Google Hangout open, but I don't know if you have the other possibilities thing open, because I had to close it because I was getting a loop also. Would that make a difference?
Oh, the Google page, is that what you said?
No,
No, he's saying you have the live stream page running in the background because you'd be getting the delayed audio from the livestream.com page.
Oh. Hold on.
So yeah, that made a difference for me. I don't know about you, but yeah.
Which is problematic because now that we've gotten Carlisle straightened out, we're about to sign off for the evening. So we're gonna
Well, you'll have
to
to do a one-on-one with them then.
Yeah,
Promise,
we're gonna
promise
get
them
him on for a
one-on-one. And if you
solo
do that on
interview.
Skype, like, yeah, Skype was much easier for me to get going. Like,
Yep.
it took me a few minutes to figure this out, and I was looking for an email, and there was no email, and then I just figured out how to join the Hangout separately.
And it
So
all
just
worked
do a
out.
one-on-one with him soon.
And we're grateful that all of you guys could participate and would participate. You have so much love and respect from me, and the chat stream is just shouting it out, and everybody's sending you best wishes.
And if
Chris,
everybody knows, there's now that we're about to jump off, Courtney Occupy, who organizes the Mumble chat. There's the live streamers Mumble chat, which starts off right about now. So
okay,
everybody's welcome to go and join the Mumble chat. I may jump in for a few minutes just to debrief a little bit from my first one there too.
Okay.
But yeah, the streamers roundtable should be up. And there goes Travis. So Travis, if you could still hear us, join in on the Mumble chat, and we'll find you there.
Before we go, do we have an idea how many people would be at Charlotte, or what the crowds would be like there?
There's no estimates right now.
Who's ever going to be there?
So
Right.
and that's for the B of A, right?
Shareholders,
Yeah, I don't know. There's not much on the local news that I can get out of there. So,
do you know if it's a 99% power? The same people. I think it's the same people that helped organize and train the shareholders and proxies over here in San Francisco. I think it's the same people, right?
Yeah, I had heard some noise around that, but Occupy Charlotte was fairly. I actually think it dissembled and was smaller than Occupy Nashville. So Charlotte's a weird town. If you guys have never been there, it's uber conservative. It's banking headquarters and all that. So occupiers are few and far between. So we're gonna have to ramp it up for DNC.
I have a feeling that there'll be people along the eastern seaboard who will flock down there just to occupy that meeting. But as far as like internals, and it may work to the benefit if there's not a lot of protesters outside, because if it is the same 99% power organization that trained me as a proxy to get in, even though we didn't get in, not having a huge presence outside may allow the people to actually get into the shareholders meeting.
Good
So if it doesn't turn out with a huge protest outside, if they can get in and disrupt the meeting the way they were planning on doing in San Francisco, and they did apparently end up disrupting a little bit here, but they were still able to get their $20 million bonuses and all that approved.
Yep. Well, we just need to get it in front of the population at large and, just keep pushing. So thank you all for being here tonight. I know it's kind of a thrown together, cobbled together thing, but I really enjoyed it. And it was fantastic. Chris, I wish you well. Punt, it's good to see you. Stay safe and stay strong.
Thank you, and thank you. Thank you.
And you and Trav should do a one-on-one soon. And do it over Skype because he said Skype is easier for him to use.
Okay,
actually, now it's working.
Now it's working?
Since
we can all log
Matt
off and you two can just turn on.
No,
since Matt told me what was going on here, now it's working.
Okay. Well, now you know for the next time. We'll do this again, so we'll be sure to invite you, and now you know the scheme, right? So that'll be good. Matt, thank you for joining us on your inaugural interview. And
all right, now I gotta go walk my dog.
Okay.
I'm about an hour and a half overdue for my dog.
All right,
later,
see you,
guys.
Punk. Thank you.
Cool.
Take care. Nice meeting you, Punk.
Nice meeting you. Okay.
Matt, we're looking forward to having you on, pretty soon, and I'm going to go over our calendar once we sign off, and with the rest of the chatters. Nate, always a pleasure. Thank you for all your good work and everything you're bringing to us. Stay in touch, and be sure to be talking to me about Charlotte for DNC. And Carlisle, Travis, man, we're going to get you on for a solo because you got cred just for staying at it. So good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying. So I'm going to say good night and let you guys go, and then I'm going to archive this, and then I'm going to jump back on the chat with the chatters for a few minutes. I hope you guys all be well, be safe, be smart. Thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for being part of OPN. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, Mark. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Night.